Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Margaux Drake. I am the founder and host of Club RVNU. Club RVNU is a net worth club for women. At its core, we teach women how to track and grow their net worth because we believe something very deeply, and that's more money in the hands of women will change the world. We do this through education, conversation, community, and yes, very practically through investing. And one of our primary vehicles is real estate, which is the business my husband Steve and I are in every day. I also want to remind people we go live every month with Club RVNU. We broadcast on Facebook, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And we go from 6 to 6:30. There's always investor-minded content to consume. And then we follow with a private women-only mastermind. And so if you are interested in tonight's content and then joining us, and it's all complimentary. This is my give back. This is a community that I visualized I wanted to grow because I need it too. And tonight we're meeting at 6:30 for our a download of what you are about to hear, which I cannot wait to share with you, and also our Think and Grow Rich debrief, because over the holidays and for the month of January, we've all been reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and why this is so important for women so that we can together change the world. So now let's shift gears a little bit. Whether you're joining us live or catching this broadcast later, I want to start by saying this very clearly. Tonight's conversation matters. This is a big deal. Inside Club RVNU, we talk about money, but not as a status symbol. We talk about money as a tool and wealth building as a tool for stability, a tool for choice, a tool for freedom, and when used intentionally, a tool for impact far beyond ourselves. A few years ago, when I was designing what revenue was really about, it's not just the business of real estate, residential and commercial real estate, but the why behind the business. So I completed something that we do in in the Keller Williams world, and it is called the MVVBP, because in Keller Williams, we love our acronyms. It stands for mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspective. It's where you get very honest about why you are doing what you're doing. And as I was filling that out for revenue, I wrote, among other things, as I was designing revenue, 4 statements without knowing exactly how I would ever execute them on them. And that is one of the very powerful things that Think and Grow Rich talks about, and how by just putting it out there, you attract the right people in your life. And boy, did that happen for me. Those 4 statements that I wrote on my MVVBP over 3 years ago were end slavery, women are not for sale, she belongs in school, and more money in the hands of women will change the world. Fast forward to last year, a great friend of mine introduced me to a new friend. We'd kind of been acquaintances, but I finally got to meet her in person. And she shared with me at tea about an organization called Women at Risk International and some stories around that. And at that point in my life last year, as many of you know, I was deep in and completely committed to helping my mom, who was over 90 years old. And that was taking all of my energy. But I bookmarked that conversation and I thought, I have to revisit that when my time and energy allows, because that sounds like it is in perfect alignment with my mission and everything that I wrote on my MVVBP for revenue. And as most of you know, we cared for my mom up until the very end. She passed away, went to heaven with my dad in October. So during the holidays, I was so happy to be invited to a social event. I hadn't been to a social event in a very long time because Steve and I were going back and forth to Detroit so often. And I showed up at my friend's house. And I thought it was just a holiday party. And I walked in and all of a sudden I saw Rebecca McDonald. And the conversation at tea, I connected the dots of what this event was. It was a shopping event for the holidays to benefit Women at Risk International. I finally connected all the dots in the chaos of last year and the chaos of the holidays. And I was so grateful to be there in that room and meet Rebecca in person. And I want you all to know, and I am just giving a little disclaimer and caveat, I asked Rebecca to share insights about Women at Risk International with us, and that this was a live broadcasting on all social media. So please keep the stories as safe for people in a public environment as she possibly could. So with that caveat, while you're listening to her, know that these stories run so much deeper and so much more horrific than she is going to say. And she gives us some pretty difficult to hear stories. So they are her stories are reined in, I guess I want to say. And Rebecca couldn't join us live tonight because she is in Zambia. She is in Zambia helping to create a farm to help the people there. And she took the time to answer some of my questions and just give you a little taste about what Women at Risk International is. So when I wrote those things down, at that time, I knew I could bring women together. I knew we could build wealth. But what I didn't know is exactly how those beliefs would fully come to life. Fast forward to the holidays. What I thought was a holiday party and a normal gathering when I arrived, I saw Rebecca in the room and immediately knew that was no accident. That night, I met Rebecca McDonald, founder and president of Women at Risk International. Women at Risk International unites and educates to create circles of protection around those at risk through culturally sensitive, value-added intervention projects where language matters, because real empowerment requires understanding culture, economics, language, governments, and dignity. Rebecca joins us tonight from Zambia, which speaks volumes about the nature of her work. And it isn't theoretical, it's on the ground, relationship driven, and global impact. So in this conversation, you are going to hear about how WAR, Women at Risk International, grew from an idea to a global movement, what it means to be at risk, why economic empowerment, especially when women control resources, creates ripple effects of lasting change. And this is not a conversation rooted in fear. It's not graphic and it's not performative. It is grounded, it is respectful, and it is deeply aligned with the values of Club RVNU, what it is built on, and long before tonight. After the interview, we'll move into the private women's only Zoom mastermind. So if you would like to be a part of that, please go to Growing Revenue. Actually, it's very easy. You can go to clubrevenu.com, clubrevenu.com, clubrvnu.com, and do an RSVP, and we will reflect, connect, and talk more about this conversation tonight, and also talk about the Think and Grow Rich book. But first, I invite you to listen, to stay curious, and consider how your own financial life, your choices, your growth, your stewardship fits into a much bigger story. It is truly my honor to welcome tonight's guest, where she said to me, "Thank you so much for caring deeply about women and their ability to change the world. Indeed, if they ever unite, you will see a force like never before." So please join me in welcoming Rebecca McDonald, founder and president of Women at Risk International.
Welcome. I'm Rebecca McDonald, and I'm delighted to answer some questions for you for Margaux. First of all, let me tell you who I am. I'm the president, the founder of an organization, a nonprofit that now today is in over 60 countries. It's called Women at Risk International. I'm speaking to you from Zambia in southern part of Africa, where we are working with widows and orphans and micro enterprise. And the way this nonprofit began was I had the greatest privilege in the world of growing up from age 5 until college in a land far, far away. As an American, I was moved at age 5 with my family by my parents. My father was a doctor, my mother was an artist, to the land of then East Pakistan. And I stayed there from age 5 until college and grew up in a war zone. By the time I was 13, we had been through 2 wars. And the war at 13 was a civil war where a genocide was conducted against the Bangladeshi people. India came to our defense, and they became Bangladesh as you know them today. And so I grew up in those settings where I saw risk and carnage all around me. And at that time, my girlfriend was attacked and raped, and she fought back. And to teach her in her particular setting, and not all Muslim settings are like this, please do not think I mean that, but in her world, she had no right to fight back, and they gave her that message loud and clear. They said, "You have no right to fight back. You are our property, bought and sold in a marriage contract. We can do anything we want to you." And so they poured acid not in her face, as is usual to this day, but down her throat to take away her vocal cords and her voice forever. And the acid of her suffering burned a hole in my heart and set me on a pathway, that and many other experiences, of being the voice of the silenced and helping them find their voice and wrapping arms of love around them and helping them rebuild their life one day at a time in their own way, at their own pace, and letting them work and go to school if they're minors, or learn to work with dignity, and helping empower them do that. And so today, Women at Risk, as I said, is in over 60 countries, and we are dealing with 15 risk issues, abuse of all manner, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's rape, whether it's human trafficking, honor killings, acid attacks, but we're most known for our fight against human trafficking because it is the fastest growing crime in the world, especially in the United States of America. Another question I was asked was, how are we a little different maybe, and what is one of our core values that drives us? Maybe because as an American, I grew up overseas and have been in such diverse settings. A core value of Women at Risk is cultural sensitivity. If you take away all the cultural differences of men, women, and children all over the world, in the 90 countries of the world that I've come and gone in, and boil it down to, there are 4 things that a wounded person needs, regardless of their culture, or they will not heal. And one of them is they must feel safe. They must feel safe or they will not heal. And that's the good news. The bad news is that every culture defines safety differently. And so what feels safe in Pakistan or Bangladesh or India, you can lock up 500 women on a 5-story building with thief bars and padlocks and a guard at the gate. in India and help them rebuild their lives, and they feel safe because the tribe, the unit, is what makes them feel safe. You lock one woman up in America and she's taken her chances under a bridge. And so each different program of the war world looks differently because nobody heals until they feel safe. Rescue is just the beginning. You cannot just rescue a person and say, nasty little life you had there, go do something nice. 95% of the women that get picked up in a police raid in Cambodia and do not have job training but get sent home get resold. You must empower them to make a living with dignity if they're an adult. If you are starving, I will by all means feed you a fish. But may I please teach you to fish and make fishing poles and sell your fish and sell your poles. The dirty little secret of 150 years of work overseas is that we have fed fish, fish, fish and never empowered people to work with dignity. Oh, Margaux heard some of my stories, and I've been doing this for decades, and I have thousands of stories with happy endings. I could talk to you about a 4-year-old boy that was brought to us by his minor mom, who was trafficked, sold against her will, and could no longer hide him in the pedophile red light district. And a few years ago, with a war scholarship, we raised him, we helped him go through college. Today, he is an engineer raising his own siblings. It's wonderful when you rescue one person and see them rise up and put their life back together. But when you see generational change, oh, that pours steel in my backbone, because that is the real solution. And our goal is to help them dream. I don't care whether we graduated doctors and lawyers and school teachers and cosmetologists and goat herders and seamstresses and you name it. Whatever their dream is what we want to help them do, which is what we would do for our own children. So Margaux asked me to give you an example of a program out of Egypt. And I probably know Muslim cultures better than I know America because I grew up in East Pakistan, then Bangladesh, went to boarding school in West Pakistan, and have worked in the Middle East. So there we have absolutely gorgeous hand-blown ornaments of high-end Pyrex glass with 12-karat gold painting, and they're all made by men because women normally don't work outside the home. But in a Muslim culture, you don't have access to their women just by asking. And so by keeping this ancient art alive, it gives us access to all their wives and sisters and daughters and mothers and aunts. And we intervene in risk there in 2 ways. First of all, we give either medical or educational scholarships. That is a euphemism for if you beat your wife, if you cut her nose off, true story, we will get her stitches. One woman there came to me, the wife of one of our glass workers, and I asked her if she had children, because that's a very common question that you would ask in a Muslim country, and she hung her head. She was barren. And I knew immediately that that was a divorceable offense. And so with some help, with fertility checks, they now have a baby they call the war baby. So medical help or educational help, which is a euphemism for, in Jordan, one of the girls that we met was being raped from age 8 until 18 by her uncle, who was her guardian. We were able to put her in a cosmetology scholarship with his permission, him knowing full well what we were doing, but not shaming him because we couldn't. You can't turn him in. They will take her life in an honor killing, and got her out of that home, put her in the home, a safe house with trained trauma-informed care, and she became a top cosmetologist and got a job now in a 5-star hotel there in that city, has married a great man and is happily married. And so those are examples of how we use the ornaments. Most of our products are made in our safe houses by rescued women or in preventative programs by at-risk women. Something about their story says they are exponentially at risk. And so we pull them into our programs and teach them a trade. So maybe they want to be a seamstress, and they can make 10 to 20 times from home with a sewing machine what a man makes in that country. If they want to work a little bit, they can make the same as a man. If they want to work a little harder, they can easily double, triple, quadruple their income. If they want to hire their mom and their aunt and their sister, they can do that. And there are women today that make more money than I will ever make, and I celebrate that because they're entrepreneurial and they have figured it out. So another question Margaux asked me was, how can an American woman help? Well, one way is shop with a purpose. You know, that hard to shop for person who has everything? Go to our website, go to the War Chest Boutique or Women at Risk International, War International, and shop. We have 7,000 international gifts of distinction, real pearls, real stones. Every time you shop, you are jumping in the trenches with me, fighting a battle, rescuing a woman, teaching her a trade so that she can work from home with dignity, put her life back together while she gets wraparound services, stitches and childcare and counseling and all of that. Your purchase only pays her and helps her have a living that also includes all the wraparound services. So do a pop-up boutique. We mail you the stuff. You mail it from your home. It costs you nothing. We send you a mailing label to mail it back to you, or come to our store right there in Grand Rapids, right by Granville Mall there, and shop right there in the store. You can give if you wish. We are a 501c3 nonprofit charity. So a goat, a simple goat, $50 to $100. Okay, what does that? That's me taking all my grandchildren to McDonald's and telling them they can have whatever they want to eat. And guess what it does? It changes a life forever. A goat can change the life of a family forever. Or a sewing machine. So orphans and widows in our programs, when they graduate, they don't know it, but they get their sewing machine for free. And the other women get it interest free. But they can make, like I said, 10 to 20 to 30 or more times what a man makes working at home, watching their children. So micro enterprise, each country's different. What works in one country may or may not work in another country. And so we do our research and figure out ways to help empower them and help them grow. If they want to go to college, if they want to finish high school, we have dozens, hundreds of women that we've done that for as well. A UN study showed that when you give money and help and you empower women to work and make money, the money goes to the family. If you give money to the men, for example, in Peru, this is a UN study, it goes to gambling or other stuff and not to the family. We actually have a free enterprise program there, and we were there for one of their annual conferences. And this little tiny 4-foot woman got up and she said, you know, my husband used to beat me, and now I'm the mayor of my city and I make more money than him and nobody lays a hand on me. So we did not fire the men, but little by little, we've only hired women to do that particular job. I am so thankful that you are willing, Margaux and others, to be a voice for women. If ever the world of women unite around a common cause, the world will see a force like it has never seen before. My passion is just to create that circle of protection, that safe place for each of us to circle our own cradle. to rise up and be that mommy to the mommyless and just come together as men and women, but especially as women, and empower women and children. And yes, we have programs too. Of our 230 some programs, 3 of them are for men, but empower the family and especially women who give back, who use their profits to get their children education and a roof on the house and shoes and all the things that you and I as a mom would do. So thank you for being willing to be the voice of the silenced and to step into this world and be an abolitionist with me.
As we close tonight, I want to bring this conversation home. Human trafficking is not something that only happens somewhere else. It's happening globally. It's happening across the United States. And yes, it's happening right here in our own communities. That's why Women at Risk International matters. It is headquartered right here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, while doing work in over 60 countries around the world. Rebecca McDonald, thank you. Thank you for dedicating your life to this cause and for building such an incredible infrastructure in your lifetime in 60 different countries with all the language barriers, all the economic barriers and the culture, the different cultures. I still don't know how she did it. Thank you, Rebecca, for sharing some of your stories tonight. Economic empowerment is protective. When women have access to opportunity, education, and financial agency, change happens for families, for community, and like Rebecca said, for generations, which brings us back to the powerful truth. When women unite, the world will witness a force like never before. And that belief is at the very heart of Club RVNU. We are a net worth club for women, not just to grow wealth, but to grow freedom, stability, and impact. Because when women are financially empowered, the ripple effects are real. In just a moment, we're going to move to our women's only private mastermind. It is unrecorded, it is complimentary, it's free, and it is intentionally intimate, a space to reflect, connect, and talk about the conversations that we've had here tonight. If Rebecca's work moved you, there are tangible ways to support Women at Risk International. We will be sharing those resources with you via email and in the mastermind. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring about women. Thank you for being part of a force the world is beginning to feel. See you in the mastermind.